Are we ready to rock? Are we ready to bring the World Series hero, the pride of the University of California, one of the great alums in the history of that school, played in the College World Series? I don't know what this man hasn't done. He's one of the top television broadcasters in our game. The great Geoff Blum is with us here as we preview the Houston Astros, but we could talk anything with him. Blummer, how are you?
I'm doing much better after that intro, man. I got to put you on my PR staff.
Well, it is what it is. I mean, when you got it, flaunt it, right, as they say?
Yep, I can't argue with that, and I'm going to take it every time I can.
We have new gear sponsoring A's Cast and A's Cast Live. Have you heard of Link Soul?
Hey, dude, Link Soul is one of the more legit California-based, out of Oceanside golf apparel companies. That's one of the first things I noticed when you hopped on is that you had the Link Soul. And I don't know if you've watched a lot of PGA, but Sahith Theegala out of Chino Hills is repping their stuff when he's going out there and playing. But yeah, I love Link Soul. They've got great stuff.
So we now, for every show, the Commander and I will have Link Soul on the field here in the studios. We have the spring collection going right now that we'll be showing everybody, and then will be the summer collection. But yeah, Link Soul and the Oakland A's and the Oakland A's Radio Network sponsorship throughout 2023. I knew somebody of your high quality would be able to tell our fans. I'm like, it's like what I'm wearing right now. I can go to dinner. I can play golf. Hell, I could go to the beach. You name it. Their stuff is so legit. It's unbelievable.
Well, isn't that the key? It's to tell your wife that you're going to play golf and that you're still looking good enough to go on that date night or out with the family, and you can transition nicely. So you guys are smart with hooking up with them.
So this is the interview. We've all kind of like crossed our fingers and said, this is the interview Blummer says it all falls apart, that this whole dynasty, it finally crumbles. Things are just, it's not working out. This is not the Astros year. Is this finally the time?
I mean, maybe for the first month and a half, 2 months, maybe you can argue that a little bit because, you're going to have, I know you're kind of hinting at the Altuve situation with the WBC, breaking the thumb, having surgery, coming back and rehabilitating that and getting that swing back is going to be a little bit longer than maybe we expect. Michael Brantley was scheduled to be ready opening day, but had some issues off the field that he had to take care of. So it kind of pushed his start back a little bit. Yordan Alvarez just started hitting. Can he be ready on opening day? And then you've got Lance McCullers Jr. When's he going to be able to come back? So yeah, if you're going to look at this and maybe say there's an opportunity to kind of take advantage of the Astros, I wouldn't say knock them off that AL West throne, but I would say if there's an opportunity to take advantage of the Astros early on, this, April, May might be those months where you can, if you can, jump out to a little bit of an early lead and try and take advantage of them not being at full strength, because they are going to open the season with some key pieces on the shelf.
What is the difference in the team right now without Justin Verlander?
You know what? I'm not too sure that there is much of a change, but other than the fact, and this is what's interesting, because when the Astros were developing this run that they were on, they knew that they drafted well. They knew that they developed well and got some key young pieces in the big leagues. They went out and picked up some waiver wires, some free agent guys that were kind of on the fringe and made them better. But they were really lacking that veteran leadership. So you go out and get a Charlie Morton back in 2016-17. You add the Justin Verlander, and all of a sudden you've got that ace at the top of your rotation who can take all the media fire, can be expected to go out against a tough opponent and keep you in the game and pitch well enough to win. And now you're starting to watch some of these guys who are pitching under that kind of develop a little bit, and hopefully they can start to take the reins and become maybe that next Justin Verlander or that next Zach Greinke, because you're going to see Framber Valdez a year removed from the year that he had. He's getting smarter. He's getting better. He's getting more experienced. Christian Javier is kind of the wild card right now because we saw him make such a progression in 2022. Can he move into that 2-3 spot in a rotation? Luis Garcia seems to have adjusted his delivery, not rocking the baby because of the Manfred rules that are being implemented. Can he make the next step? So I think these guys are kind of in a position where they would have been better with Justin Verlander, but I think they'll be all right because these guys have another year of experience in being around guys like that maybe they can start to take this bull by the horns on their own and see what they can do.
Well, you let Verlander walk, but you bring in Jose Abreu. You're talking about bringing in a veteran guy. How's he fit in? Obviously, another great Chicago White Sox.
Yeah, I mean, if you can go get a nice White Sox to complement your team, you should be all right. But Jose Abreu is one of those guys like Michael Brantley for me. When you saw the Indians come in or you went into Cleveland and Michael Brantley was in the middle part of the order, you're going, oh, no, this guy's up again with runners on, and he would drive 2 runs in. And at the end of the year, you'd see a 280 to 300 batting average, and that's exactly what Michael Brantley's been, if not better, as an Astro. And I think that's kind of the hopes with Jose Abreu, because you know as well as I do, being in the American League and watching Jose Abreu come over and show how good of a hitter he is, not just overall, but with guys in scoring position. He's a career 300 RISP guy. And that's what kind of turns me on in this organization, is that he'll be in a lineup. He'll be in the middle part, and he'll have guys that are high on base percentage guys, and he'll get his opportunities. But the one thing that I didn't know about Jose Abreu is the sheer size of the man himself, but also the work ethic. Rumor has it that this guy's in at dawn in the weight room, getting it on, has a nice routine developed, gets in the cage, works extremely hard, and then it translates onto the field. So this guy fits right in with the mantra. And I think all the interviews that you saw him do in the offseason when he signed so early with the Houston Astros, maybe not testing that market a little bit, he just said, the most important thing he said to me was, I want to go somewhere where I'm going to win. And this is where he felt he was going to be able to do that. So it's a nice transition from Yuli Gurriel to Jose Abreu. He should be a nice fit.
Yeah, I mean, you go somewhere to win. I mean, no one's been better than the Astros. I mean, it is what it is. And, when you think about every single year, a team gets a chance to defend their title. And we haven't seen since the late 90s, the Yankees, the Toronto Blue Jays, and their run in the early 90s. Why is it? Why is it so tough? You have that magic, you win the championship, you're basically back at it 4.5 months later. It's not like you take years off. What happens? Why do you lose the mojo so fast? Why haven't we had a repeat champion?
I don't know. You know what? I mean, there's a lot of factors to that, but I'm as fascinated about it as you are. And it's even more interesting sitting in this seat on a daily basis and watching what they're able to go out there and do. And I think in order for organizations to go out there and repeat, you've got to be able to find a way to create a culture of winning where everybody in there feels that they're on the same page, pushing in the same direction, cheering each other on. There's no animosity, and you kind of have that single-minded goal in mind. And a lot of that comes from leadership. AJ Hinch did a good job of establishing it. Dusty Baker's done a better job of continuing that momentum. But you also need guys in that clubhouse who really have a thirst for winning no matter the situation. And that's what I find most interesting about what is happening here in Houston, is the fact that you've got guys like Alex Bregman and Jose Altuve. Some of these other young guys are kind of latching onto the idea. Kyle Tucker is a guy that jumps to my mind, is when you talk to these guys, and you're around the A's as much as I'm around the Astros, and you start talking to these guys, you want to get in their head a little bit and try and understand, because I'm fascinated by their ability to bounce back, like you're saying, after a 3-4 month off season and get ready to go again. But as soon as that parade was over, talking to a guy like Alex Bregman, for whatever reason, there's a gear inside this guy that says, that was great. It was a lot of fun. I appreciate it, but I'm not done yet. And I don't know how you instill that in guys, but he wanted to flat out turn around and get into spring training immediately. And it's almost as if he wanted to continue that momentum that they had at the end of the season and just see if they can continue to go with it, because we both know that these windows, they're so tight, so small, and it's so hard. And I think the reason it is hard, and we haven't seen that repeat champion, is the fact that loyalty is just not there anymore. You're chasing money, you're chasing contracts, there's trades, there's analytics that are telling you that this guy shouldn't be here or this guy should be here. And I think that's where you kind of run into the issue, is that turnover in the roster sometimes creates a little more of a shockwave that doesn't allow you to go out there and continue to perpetuate that winning mentality.
If I said, let's look at the core of the Astros, because, there's going to be players that we don't know about for each team. They're going to get called up. They're going to play a role in how teams do, right? But if we say the core, Is there anybody's core in the American League right now better than the Houston Astros?
Man, it would take a lot of digging to be able to do that because, out in the West, I think you're seeing the Seattle Mariners and Angels trying to put themselves in a good position. I know the Angels just don't have the pitching to be able to do it because your core, if you think about it, is going to be Shohei Ohtani to Mike Trout in center, and hopefully they can get a healthy Anthony Rendon for a season and see what that offense can actually do. And then you add Ward to that mix, and maybe all of a sudden you get that surprise guy that you're talking about that can kind of overachieve and boost that lineup a little bit. But for Seattle, I think having Julio Rodriguez out there, the pitching staff that they have with Gilbert on that mound, some of these young guys coming up, Cal Raleigh's kind of stepped up. So that's where I kind of focus a little bit, obviously, on the AL West. But I think that those guys might be the most competitive as far as the Seattle Mariners, of having that continuity and maybe having those core guys that are going to stick around a little bit and provide you the opportunity to maybe try and quench that thirst of going out there and winning, because they've done a good job with Luis Castillo signing some of these guys to complement who they have internally.
Yeah, because I think nobody in the Central. And then
Central's crazy, isn't it? I don't even look at them. Yeah.
And the Central, not as much as I love Terry Francona, friend of the program, and I love how they pitch and they actually hit for batting average and they play old school. I appreciate that. And then in the East, the Astros own the Yankees. I mean, they have taken their lunch money now for so many years. Rays are always tough. You never know. We'll see. A lot of people are talking about how good Toronto could be this year. But that's what I'm saying. If you look at the core of all the winning and all the 6 years of going to the ALCS and 2 World Series titles and playing in 4 World Series and all the success, and as you mentioned earlier, the younger guys are contributing and they're coming up. And I don't know if you can say just core-wise, I don't think you can say there's a better core than the Houston Astros in the American League.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I feel comfortable saying that because I'm around these guys and get a chance to broadcast with them. But there were some serious questions over the years when you lose, like we already talked about, a Justin Verlander, a Zach Greinke, a Garrett Cole. I mean, these are bona fide superstar Cy Young MVP candidates. Yeah, Hall of Fame guys. And then you go out to, George Springer in center field leaves and they find a way to compensate for that. And all of a sudden, a guy like Yordan Alvarez shows up to fit right in the middle of that batting order with the Bregmans, the Altuves, the Brantleys, and guys like that. And then all of a sudden last year, they say goodbye to Carlos Correa and wish him well. And all of a sudden, this dude, Jeremy Pena, shows up and has a little bit of a roller coaster ride throughout the course of the season, makes a minor adjustment in his swing in September, and all of a sudden this guy's a juggernaut and he's carrying him through the championship series and the World Series. So it's amazing how they've been able to develop and get those guys in there and be able to take that calculated risk losing potential Hall of Famers and superstars like that. It's unreal.
Well, that's why we've mentioned on this show, and as much as painful as it is, the Astros have been the model. All these people, it's like the Rangers are the exact opposite. They're just throwing money at all their problems. And that's why I try and tell fans, because we haven't won the World Series since '89, but I go, look how many times we've been to the playoffs and we don't overpay for guys. We don't do it. And fans hate when I say that. But look at the Astros model, as you mentioned, Verlander, Cole, Greinke, Springer, Correa. If you outprice yourself, they say, thank you, we appreciate it, and we'll replace you. It's a great way to do business. What the Astros are doing, they are the business model that is working the best in our sport.
Yeah, and you can hate them as much as you want. You can complain about things that happened in the past and all of those things. I get it. Hate them as much as you want, but there is a part of you or us as prognosticators, as media members, where you have to look at some of these organizations that have success and go, damn, I can't stand that they keep winning, but they have actually done it pretty well. And they did develop a model between Jeff Luhnow, and I'm sure now Dana Brown's going to be able to kind of continue that success here with his ideas that he's bringing over from the Atlanta Braves. But to your point, the fact that they don't have they have a high payroll, but they've been able to hover around that CBT threshold and not get too over it every once in a while, able to come back down below it and still kind of rest just below it and continue to go out there and win is really a credit to what the baseball ops have been able to do. It's a credit to the way Dusty Baker, Josh Miller, the pitching coach, all the hitting coaches that they have, and just developing this talent from the minor leagues into the big leagues to just get on board, continue to fight, grind, play. But you're right, because I've never seen, we've seen good drafts, but we haven't seen consistently good drafting like we did in the, 2012, 13, 14, 15 for the Astros when they were losing 100, and developing those guys, knowing when to get them to the big leagues, and just adding some of those pieces to them at a right price. They've been very business oriented in going out and do that. And they've taken a lot of emotion out of it. Like you said, sometimes you get emotional and go, that's my guy, take all my money and let's see what happens.
All right, let's end on this. I'm sure there's been things you've been reading, you've been getting ready for. What's like the one thing that you want to play out, you want to see the most? What's the one thing in baseball you're most curious about? Everybody has that one thing. What is it for you?
I mean, I don't want to just belabor the clock thing. I'm still curious about this thing. I want to know what it looks like in a regular season with regular 26-man rosters and managers managing their guys. I still think that that's going to be very interesting to me. I'm a little annoyed at the shift, just if you want to know. But the thing that I want to know or want to see is I want to see this balanced schedule. I love the fact that we've gone to this universal DH. I know it's going to be a little more homogenized as far as rules, but the fact that we get to go into some of these different cities and put on a show with a Mike Trout going into, Pittsburgh or, some of these places and being able to put him on display, I think is going to be a lot of fun. And I also think it's a lot of fun that we are getting out of the American League West. I don't know how you feel about it, but
Mariners. It's like we play the Mariners every game. Oh my God.
Doesn't it feel that way? I mean, the 19 games per team it's too much.
Oh my God. I'm so glad you don't have to see Trout as much. God.
No, I'm with you on that. And for whatever reason, the A's play their ass off against the Astros. And I've got to sit there and go, man, I don't know how to explain this other than the fact that they're just beating up on the Astros.
Doesn't it seem like we don't play each other as much? It seems like it's like two different times in 12 and 19. We went and played in Japan. We played against the Mariners. We came home opening day against the Mariners. It's like every other game we had to face King Felix. It's like there's certain organization. It's like, I'm tired of seeing these guys. It's just, I'm with you. Some new blood will be nice.
Yeah, and maybe find that team out there that you do play well against, or maybe instead of, facing the Astros in extra time for the Oakland A's, maybe you get to go out there and face, the Pittsburgh Pirates every once in a while, or maybe face the Miami Marlins, who are going to be tough but beatable. Maybe expand it a little bit and see what you can go out there and do. Maybe rack up a couple more wins or experience against some of these teams. And obviously for me, traveling with the team, it's, selfishly, I want to go to some different stadiums and check out some of these ballparks again.
I know. I keep bringing up Seattle. I mean, I don't need to go to the Fairmont again and eat at Shuckers. I've done that.
Right? I've had enough. I've had all the crab cakes and everything, or everything.
I'm ready to move on. Give me some more. Yeah. Give me more South Beach. I can always do a little more South Beach. All right,
that's
buddy.
what I'm talking about.
We always appreciate it. Can't wait to see you up here in Oakland. You know how everybody loves you up here in the Bay. And be well. And I don't know when we play. When do we play?
We've got you.
It's until like May.
May. Yeah.
And hopefully you guys are in last place. You're like 10 games under 500. There it is. May 28, 26. So maybe you're right. Maybe these first 2 months, we need to all get our licks in.
There we go. Hey, Townie, you ready for this? So when I see you next in person, I will have had all of my triplets graduate on that Wednesday. So by the time I show up to Oakland on that weekend, I will have four girls in college.
You're an empty nester?
Dude, it's going to be crazy. Yeah. This is my last summer with kids or with high school students. Yeah. This is madness. I know your kids are growing up quick, dude. Be ready.
Mine are juniors. Well, for people who don't know, when you had your triplet playing for the Padres, that was a big deal. Like it was like national news. A Major League Baseball player has triplets. How is this going to work? How's this guy going to sleep? I mean, it was a big deal when they were born, and they're going to go to college. Oh my!
Yeah, it happens fast, Townie. You know that. I mean, having kids in high school it's chaos as it is, and then all of a sudden you turn around and you're like, wait, graduation? Yeah, it's. I don't know if I'm ready for it, to be honest with you, but it's going to be good.
I can say this, like with all the stuff going on, like right now, everything for my kids is about college and where they're going to go and where everybody's getting into right now.
Right?
I don't think I've ever looked more forward to a baseball season than this year. So I can parachute out of this world and just get into my own world and be like, I'm so overhearing about my wife's friends, kids, college, I'm ready to get back into our little bubble of baseball and just leave me alone.
The competition between who's going where and who's getting accepted to what is crazy. But how about the application process, man? It's insane.
Did you know that UCLA is the most applied to college in the country, and they get over 300,000 applicants?
Dear God, I didn't know that. It's understandable, but I didn't realize it was that high.
Yeah. UC Santa Barbara, of course, your alma mater, Berkeley.
There's a lot of smart kids out there.
Getting into the UC system is really, really hard. And then they talk about, hey, there's no guarantee to get into San Jose State or San Diego State. There's no guarantee.
That's amazing to me. Somebody said that the other day about San Diego State being tough academically, and I about went, what? next thing you know, you're going to tell me Chico State's tough to get into?
No offense to all the graduates of the Aztecs and Chico State, but yeah,
no, not at all. But I mean, we all knew that going there was some fringe benefits to going to those schools. I
literally grew up 2 minutes from San Diego State, and when I was growing up, the big news was that they were the number 1 or number 2 party school in Playboy magazine. It was a safety school.
Those were the days.
Schools. No one was talking about I'm going to San Diego State to get a great education. Right?
Yep. Times are changing.
Like if they said Berkeley, San Diego State, they weren't even in the same conversation.
Oh,
it's crazy. All right, my man. We'll see you in May. You be well.
You too. Appreciate being on with you guys as always. Always would love being on with you, Townie. Thank you, man.
Take care, buddy. The great Geoff Blum, the World Series hero.